So anyway, so what is Egyptian pendulum healing? Which is a complementary therapy. It's a means of delivering energy healing. It's one means, but not the only means of doing so, okay? So people have hands, you do hands on, or we don't do hands-on healing these days. You get yourself into trouble, so you have to hover your hands around. Hovering of hands healing these days. So the pendulums, there are two types. There's a clicker on this thing, oh, there we go. That's the Isis pendulum, and it's broken down into three parts. And there's the Karnak pendulum, which itself breaks down into three parts. There's a witness chamber in there. There's a witness chamber here, witness chamber there, and this just breaks down to take the string off, because you don't always use Karnak on the end of a piece of string. You actually can use it as a wand or a device or something. And there are other claims. There are others that claim to be Egyptian pendulums. They're the 20th and 21st century North American adaptations of things, like this, which I got from Carolina. It's called an Eye of Ra pendulum. It conforms to the principles of energy generation and energy projection. It's very powerful, actually. It does wonders. And this is one of Ibrahim Karim's gadgets. It's BG16 pendulum. Expensive. I got a bit of change, over 100 quid for it. This is my Karnak pendulum. Excuse me, screw it together. That's that. That's gold plated. Got that from Carolina. That cost me about 60 quid, I think. Now the thing is, I have a habit of keeping, I only really use two pendulums, Isis and Karnak, and I keep them in the same tray. One day, without thinking, I picked them up and I put the Karnak top on the Isis. And the Isis thing was doing some really weird things, bearing in mind that Isis energy is generated and stored in this bit, and Karnak is actually generated in the top and stored in the bottom. So you've actually got two very different energy generators. What's going on with that? The healing devices, they go back to pharaonic times, 4,500 years old, used by the priestly classes and dietists to deliver healing. Information on their use is found in the relief carvings and paintings on the walls of temples such as Abydos, Philia, Edfu, Karnak, etc. Isis devices depicted in imagery associated with the goddess Isis. Actual carved sandstones devices found in tombs and temples. In Karnak device found in the temple complex of Karnak. Karnak, of course, is not the ancient Egyptian word of it. Karnak is the name of an Arab village next door. So, as you do. And yeah, Isis wasn't Isis in ancient Egypt. That's a Greco-Roman description of the goddess. So a lot of the stuff you talk about in ancient Egypt is not the original pharaonic names, not unless you're talking about Tutankhamun and people like that, and Ramesses. These are a Karnak device from the time. It's actually in Brighton and Hove Museum. Where else are you going to find Karnak devices other than on Brighton seafronts? Brighton Pavilion, okay. So that's a kind of, and this is another one, an amulet. They call them amulets. I took photographs of them and blew the photographs up and did energy measurements on them to see what they were emitting. This one is. That one's dead because it's the wrong shape. That shape of thing, I actually saw one in the Luxor Museum as well. So, oh look, you know, because it's only 3 miles from the Karnak temple complex anyway. So there we go. It is the energies of Ra that power the Isis and Karnak healing devices. Now here's Ra on 24 hours in the life of Ra. This is he's on the day job, so he's going across the heavens, serenely going across their side, and there's someone there trying not to blind himself, and there's the pyramids, and there's the thing, and here he is at night, okay, going through the duat, and he's having to fight all these things. Well, he doesn't do it himself, he's got flunkies, you know, he's got staff. He is the god after all, you know. Doesn't get his hands dirty himself. So what we got here, we got the Karnak devices. Now the Karnak devices are considered to be portals. if you do any work with Alicia Ratin, she's got some interesting derivations of information on this. So Alicia says, we're looking at these as portals. So there he is, the sun's going down, you're going through this, boom, 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 into the underworld, and he pops out at daylight. He's reborn, so he dies, he's reborn. And Alicia says, that if you actually use your imagination, not too much, you can see the shape of the female sexual organs in the shape of the Karnak device. So that again is rebirth. So this is very much the dark side, where Karnak is the dark side of energies, and Isis is the light side. Design and construction. Just a very quick look at the evolution and design of Isis and Karnak healing devices. Isis in 4 pictures. So the first one we have here is the Jed. The Jed is the piece of Osiris's spine, vertebrae, 1, 2, 3, 4, we've got the thing, okay? Here we actually have it again. We've got hissing Sid sitting around up there. It gets in everywhere, doesn't it, hissing Sid? And there's the Ankh. The Ankh and the Jed merge together, and you get this current healing device. Okay? So that's where that comes from. Karnak, for those of you into sacred geometry, will note that this whole thing is a collection of interconnecting circles. So the whole body shape, there's all the curves on there, they're all make up as circles, okay? So that's how that is created. How do they generate the energy? By means of their shape. But we have to appreciate that, we need to take a look at high frequency colour dowsing. High frequency colour dowsing deals with the detection of colour energies that are higher harmonics of visible light spectrum. Dr. Karim calls them the qualities of physics. Because they are higher harmonics, they are beyond the sensitivity of our human eye, so we can't see them, obviously. But with right devices, we can detect them. Oops. So, how do we detect them? Well, what I use Maria Wheatley's colour wheel, which comes from her book, Divining Ancient Sites. And she has 2 chapters in there on using this colour wheel, and it's very extensive work, and she can do a lot of aura work and stuff with it, but we're not going to be talking about that, because all I use it for is just actually determining what colours are being emitted by something. And the way I do that, of course, is place that chart over whatever it is I'm trying to see what colours are going, and then I'll just use a pendulum to say, show me what colours are being emitted. And the pendulum will just zip off to whatever's necessary. These down here, this bit round here is the aura, various auras in the human body, and this is about magnetic and electric polarisation of the colours. So you can use that for objects, you can use it for people, you can use it for places, all sorts of things. But I do recommend, if you are interested in high frequency colour dowsing and using that thing of Maria's, it's an extremely good writer. Whilst Maria can be a bit difficult to get hold of, she's a very prolific authoress, and she writes extremely well, and her stuff is very easy to read and very easy to comprehend. Right. Energies are shapen rather sun-guide. So, in the 1920s, this guy, Tut Ankh Amen, other one known as Tutankhamun, mispronounced, tomb was found. World goes crazy for all things Egyptian. Pioneers of high-frequency colour dowsing, Leon Winnert, French researcher, and 2 physicists, Anton Belazile and Philippe Morel, start to investigate HFCs emitted from ancient Egyptian devices. So, when I spoke about Dr. Karim, looking at the whole Egyptian environment being an energy generator, his first port of call, his research, was to go and dig out the papers of these people who were actually in private hands in France, and started his research going from them. What they found, they found a sort of pyramids, Karnak devices. What they found is that the shapes such as a sphere or a flat disc automatically generate 12 different colours. And here we actually see, this is the Earth sphere, sun shining down. Midday, you get green, is the predominant colour, running up to about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, yellow is the predominant colour, etc., etc. So if you're standing out, where are we? It's not quite solar midday. 1 o'clock is solar midday, so 1 o'clock, green energy is its most powerful. So what we're just coming out of the yellow zone at the moment, because we're standing there, blah, blah. And you can actually represent this whole thing by a flat disk. And once you've got a flat disk, you then start looking at the disks around a Isis device. And these are the colours that you can actually see out of this. We've got the visible colours, we've got the non-visible, we've got infrared, got the temple colours, spiritual gold, metaphysical ultraviolet and infrared, and then we've got the additional colours of Ram. So there's the energy device. What we actually have here is that each disk generates energy, and it's in a stack, just like batteries in a torch. You've got batteries in a torch in a stack, 1.5 volt battery, put two together end to end, you end up with 3 volts, and so on and so on, so it goes on down. So what we're doing exactly the same here. We generate energy in that one, it passes down to this one, which is generating energy, so we get a doubling of the energy, a tripling energy, a quadrupling, and it then pops out the bottom there, it's radiated out the bottom. Karnak device, as I said before, it's all generated up in the top there, gets stored in there, pops out the bottom. Osiris device is not an Egyptian device, it was developed by Chomri, Belazil and Morel, but the same principle for Isis. As I said, the whole thing, you're looking at a disc, that's the universal pendulum, you're looking at a disc, half a disc, it's a hemisphere, sorry, half a sphere is a hemisphere, which is what you got there, hemispheres. So they're generating energy, and again, that's for the Isis, just amplifies as it goes down, accumulates and goes down. Isis is the light side of the energies of Ra. It's made in a state naturally generates an immense white light energy. So even untuned, even as it's made, it's generating white light, which is it can be used straight away as a healing device, and it's safe to use in any situation. And by analogy, you can consider it on a par with a home first aid kit. Nurophens, sticking plasters, what do you call them, Imodium. To be fully effective, it needs to be tuned to the full spectrum of colours from infrared to esoteric UV and spiritual gold. Karnak is the shadow side of the energies of Ra, as we've seen. It's going through the dark side, the underworld, and its made state, it naturally generates and emits something called negative green in the electric or vertically polarised light energy. So it's not safe to use in any situation. By analogy, consider it to be on a par with specialist equipment only found in a hospital. You wouldn't actually be having X-ray radiation therapy equipment sold in boots, would you? For home use. So but you tune them. You can actually detune them, and this one has been tuned. You have to tune it up at solar midday and solar midnight and do other things with it as well. But everybody says, oh yeah, they're dangerous, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they are. But in small devices, they're not that bad. It's when you start getting really big ones. The bigger they are, the more energy they're generating, the more energy they're pumping out. Osiris is devised by the Chomri, Belazil and Morel. They were intrigued by negative green and experimented to find out more. So they built vast arrays of these things. Big things. We'll see a photograph in a minute. Gives off the shadow size energy, and what they did. This is out of a book by Belazil and such like. And these are the experiments they were doing in the 1930s. Okay, huge arrays of these things. It is said that that's right. Yes, Chomri built a couple array of these devices, and they found him dead one day in his laboratory. He'd been desiccated and mummified. So, if you're thinking of setting up your living room or your consulting rooms with something like that, don't be surprised if you find. Because I did actually try to kill off that orange in the garage one day, and I had this thing hanging over it for several days. And I had a test sample by the side of it, and I was weighing them to see what the water content was. Yes.
What kind of wood were those big ones made out of, please?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
What I did find was the test, the control sample was actually losing fluid, and my item I was trying to kill off, nothing was happening to it. So there's something wrong there. Some derivative pendulums, there we are. That's a universal pendulum. It actually has at its core, it's got a 6-element Osiris pendulum in it. That's a simplified universal pendulum. It's a black ball on a piece of string and got all the various colours on there. So to get it to work or measure anything, you just want to find out if there's any yellow hanging around. Just hold it by the yellow little thimble there, hang it up and let it swing round, and if there's yellow hanging around, it'll work. Or if you actually want to, and bearing in mind you're dealing with intention, of course, so if something needs yellow and you hang it over on yellow, if it doesn't do anything, fine, but if it starts to swing round, that person, that body needs that energy. That's the Eye of Ra, which I've spoken about. This is Myrrh Isis you can get from biopendulums. As you can see there, a bit of Isis in there. This is these concoctions that come up. So you've got a thing of the ball, Isis, Osiris, Karnak, Osiris, Isis. I don't use them. I don't know what they do. I just stick to the 2 simple ones that came out of ancient Egypt. Other symbols giving off egg cutter energies. These are just a collection of things I've got. A wooden angel, I measure and it comes off with a nice positive green. The Ankh comes off with green. The Celtic cross comes off with green. The Atlantean symbol of spiritual gold, which I wear one around my neck. It is said that Howard Carter wore one of these, the guy who, all his mates died, he didn't. Right, using the healing devices. Don't diagnose, don't prescribe. We're complementary therapists, okay? If anybody's got a problem, go see your doc, then they can come see you. Can be used for clearing and energising objects, places, food, healing of people, including self-healing, animals and plants. You are not in the loop, you are not channeling any healing or clearing. You are just the facilitator who states the intention for healing and clearing after the device does its own thing. Sue, do you agree with that? Where's Sue? Sue Pine. There you are. You agree with that, don't you?
Yeah, I certainly do.
Yeah, Sue's been doing this and gave me this thing. I say that, And Sue said, "Yeah, you don't have to do anything. Just hold it then. It does its own thing." Yeah, thank you, Sue. It's strictly a battle between the device, the recipient, and the universal consciousness, an energetic triad on the quantum level. Go back. Nevertheless, the healing space in yourself needs to be energetically clear. So you don't want to do healing on somebody which is in a bad area. So little point cleaning them up and contaminating them at the same time. So you want them in an energetically clean, calm environment. And to me, I always make myself calm myself down, and for any form of dowsing, go into the alpha state, as Paul taught me. If you want to go course on dowsing, go to Paul. Really good. So I get myself into the alpha state, so that's me calmed down. So I'm not actually chucking out bad energies. My environment's not chucking out bad energies. So I just leave it in a clear space for the device to do its own thing. Client's work, play, home environment needs to be energetically clear, as I just said. Chiselhurst Caves, got a lot of very good energies in there. The stories of the end of the Second World War, a lot of homeless people in London. Some of them migrated down to Kent, into the Greensands area, went into the Chiselhurst Caves. And after a bit, not so big a bit, all comments in, hey, we feel better, our aches and pains are gone, etc., etc. So there's something going on, there's some very, very beneficial earth energies in there, in the Chiselhouse caves. Old diases need to be stored in a disassembled condition, assemble immediately prior to use, turn them off afterwards. You can do it face-to-face remotely or using a witness. So you can use a photograph, or you can use this particular person. Right, it's Melisande if I'm doing a lady, and it's Maximilian if I'm doing a man. So you can put that on a photograph, and if you want to just do an arm or something, you can just do that and just... You get these from artist supplies, cost about a tenner. You can use the device in dangle mode or on a stand. By dangle mode, you know, that's it, it's just dangling on a piece of string. Or you can put it on a stand and just have it on a stand pointing at something of an area of concern. I'll show you a photograph of that later on. So what movements to expect from Isis and Karnak and derivative devices? Well, they're either going to swing, they will swing one way to take bad energy out, and when they've done the bit, they'll swing the other way. And to me, I always measure the swing, and it's the angle to which the thing's swinging, okay? The greater the angle it goes out like that, that's the greater the energy coming in or going out. And I actually rate it from 0 when it's hanging down doing nothing and 5 when it's out straight, okay? 2, 3, 4. And when I do healing on people, I have charts and things that I draw over them, and I put the things in. So when I come back again later and do a repeat healing on there, I can do a comparison to see what the energy levels are. Have they increased or have they dropped? Hopefully they've dropped. We'll see an example in a minute. So I use graphic forms to record all information, complies with insurance requirements, aids comparison results, and the form can represent a person, ground plan of a building. So it's not, you don't actually do these pendulums on people or things. You can do them on plants, you can do them on your food. Yes, sir?
So you said on the other slide that we don't diagnose,
Yes.
and we don't prescribe.
Yes.
And now you're saying that first thing is to determine what conditions are being presented by the client.
No, that's up to them. They can tell you.
That's diagnosis.
That's where did they get that from? The doctor?
So you do need a diagnosis.
I don't diagnose. I just do what they tell me. If they come in there and say I've got a broken leg, I say, yeah, fine. If they say I've got a cancer, I don't actually raise and say, oh, I think you've got a cancer there.
So they get it from a doctor?
That's right, yes. They present to you a diagnosis which they've got from somewhere. Or they're self-diagnosed. This is the type of forms I use. Those who are attending my workshop later on will be using these forms going there. So that's a generic female outline, and conditions presented I put in there, various actions that are taken, notes. This is for a cat. Animals have more points, sensitive points for healing than we humans do, and it's the same sort of information. I've got horses, dogs, and such like, so. And men. So we fill in the preliminary information, adding name, location, energetically connects to the subject, lay the form on top of the witness, use a Bovis Chart to determine what energies are present in the person, take readings before and after healing, dowse which devices to use and what you include chakras. So don't just sort of say, well, yeah, do that. I'll dowse or I'll intuit what's going to be the best for this particular person, what device to use. So just before I assemble the pendulum, I announce the intention of the healing and for whom, blow into the witness chamber. So this is healing for Fred's leg. Put it together and wave it over Fred's leg. So this is the Bovis chart. Anybody familiar with Bovis life force units? You are, yeah, okay. This is something I got from the internet. It's from a dowsing group in Los Angeles, and they say it's freely available for use, personal use. Well, what it actually goes down is a logarithmic scale, and it gets round here, and this is the area we're interested in for human beings. This says here, person in good health, person in average health, person in fair health, borderline, tired person, very tired person, sick person, and microwave. So when we're actually dealing with people around here, yeah, these are very sick. There was a friend of my partner's who was dying of cancer, and I measured her and she was down to about 6k. She didn't last very much longer after that. Animals, if they go below about 8k, they're on, you know, they're struggling. But you're not going to get people over 10k. Okay. So here we've got energies like Stonehenge at 12,000 and so on and so on anyway. But it's a useful device because once I've done the healing, I can actually say that's what the energy I got before, that's afterwards, so put something in, come back a bit later on, see what the energies are again, have they dropped back, hopefully not. But what I have found though is that people who are very, very ill, I've actually done healing on them and got the energy levels up and they've been told, oh, they're up, you know, really up high now. And they died. So I was putting energy into them, but for some reason or other they weren't assimilating it. It was just too late, you know. So, but they were in pretty bad cases anyway. So, you know, so if someone's terminal, I'm not going to really do much for them other than make them a bit more comfortable. So, and where are we? In dangle mode, chart and topical witness. So what I normally do, I go around the aura of the body, scan around the aura and see if there's any spots in the aura. Then I just move across, diagonally across the body to pick up what's thing. And each time I get a movement, I actually note its strength and just write it on the chart. Now, you can do this in one way. You can just do a general healing, or someone presents to you and says, I've got a bad leg, I've got a bad knee, I've got sciatica. We'll just aim for that. And I did somebody the other day, and a guy said, I've got bad back, I'll walk. I said, well, you want me to do some healing on you? He said, yeah, okay. We'll stand over there and I'll take a photograph of you. So I took a photograph of him, went home and did a healing. I said, oh, how are you doing then, David? He says, you've been doing some healing on me? He says, I said, yeah. He says, I thought so. He says, I'm starting to feel better. After about 5 weeks, I said, how are you doing? He says, I ain't got any problems. So I cleared up the sciatica. But there again, I had suffered myself from sciatica, and when I get twinges, I promptly get the photograph of myself out and give myself a quick seeing to. And it's amazing how it works, you know. Because what you're dealing with inflammations and trapped nerves and all those sort of things. So this type of healing does actually deal very much with that type of thing. Closing actions. If you've been using negative green electric and whatever it is, put in some positive green, either by a universal pendulum or something else, or a fully tuned Isis device, and so on. And reassess the Bovis life force units. And